Like I told them that I'd just been chased by
They
Bilderberg.
knew about the Bilderbergs?
Yeah, everyone, all of that crowd back then knew about Bilderberg. And I said, yeah, I've just been chased by the Bilderberg group, which I was. In my book then, when I was trying to infiltrate secret societies, I went to Portugal with Jim Tucker. He worked for this magazine called The Spotlight, which was run by this kind of white separatist group called the Liberty Lobby in Washington, D.C.
Oh.
Basically, everybody kept telling me about this group called the Bilderberg Group that no one had heard of back then. Only real niche aficionados had heard of Bilderberg back then. And much in the same way that I feel like I partly launched Alex Jones's career, I also feel I partly gave the world Bilderberg, because I was the first mainstream writer to write about it. Because everyone was saying, there's this group called the Bilderberg Group, and they secretly rule the world from inside a secret room. And they said, if you ask Big Jim Tucker, he'll tell you more. So I phoned up Jim Tucker. And he said, yeah, it's true. They always meet once a year at a 5-star hotel with golfing facilities. That's where they rule the world. And he said, you've caught me at a good time. Honestly, it looked like something out of Sam Spade. And he had an office with Venetian blinds, and he wore a trilby, and he smoked 80 a day. He said, and he had emphysema, which made him sound even more like someone out of Sam Spade.
And he was still smoking?
He died a couple of years ago, but he lasted a fuck of a lot longer than I'd have put money on. I mean, I met him in March, and I thought he'd be dead by May. But actually, he lasted about another 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah, he only died recently, a couple of years ago, and this was 96. So Jim said, he said, yeah, I've discovered where they're going to meet. My secret source has told me that they're meeting at the Caesar Park Hotel, a golfing resort in Sintra, Portugal, and I'm going to fly over there. I apologise for my semi-American accent I'm doing here. He said, I'm going to fly over there and climb up the drain pipes and get in and confront them red-handed, going about their covert wickedness. So I said, can I come? And he said, okay, as long as you...
Did he use the term covert wickedness?
I might be slightly exaggerating.
You might put an English spin on it there.
But he basically, I'm pretty sure he said he was going to climb up the drain
covert
pipes.
wickedness.
Yeah,
that sounds like
covert
a white supremacist if I ever heard one. That's how they talk.
Yeah. So we flew there. So me and Jim Tucker flew to Portugal and scouted around the Caesar Park Hotel. And we decided that our cover story would be he'd be we'd be salesmen. But we didn't look anything like fucking salesmen. I was like an early 30s, skinny little Jewish guy, and he was like this big southern gentleman. So we looked like really fucking suspicious.
Like a gay couple.
Yeah, like gay couple. I could have been like his toy boy. And we were scouting around, trying to talk to waitresses and stuff. This was the day before the Bilderberg Group was reportedly going to arrive at this hotel. And then we left, and we started. I looked in my rearview mirror, and there was a car following me, and a chase ensued. Through the streets of... I mean, I say a chase. I was going 30 miles an hour, so was he. But I kept thinking, fuck, if I speed up, he's going to speed up. It's going to be like a fucking chase.
So it was very obvious it was following. He wasn't trying to be sneaky.
No. I stopped the car, and he stopped his car, behind me. So I thought, I've got to say something to him. So I went over to the car, and I knocked on the window. And there's a guy in dark glasses in the car looking straight ahead. And I'm knocking on the window, and he refuses to look at me. Obviously, his orders were to follow, but don't engage. I'm suddenly in a world where I am being followed by somebody whose orders are to follow and not engage. So I freak the fuck out. So I get back in the car, and I phone up my wife. And I say, I'm being followed by the Bilderberg Group. I am fucking terrified. And my wife goes, oh, you're loving it. And I'm like, I'm not. And then I phoned up the British Embassy. And I said, I'm being followed by the Bilderberg Group. And then the woman from the British Embassy goes, and then she goes, go on. And I'm like, I just heard you take a sharp breath. And then she says, well, what are you... She said, Bill, she goes, do they know, do they know you're here? I mean, what are you doing here? And I said, I'm essentially a humorous journalist out of my depth. Can you phone... What I also said to her, to my shame, I didn't put this in my book. I wrote about all of this in my book then. What I didn't put in my book was that I also said to her, I said, I'm a humorous journalist out of my depth. I'm a bit like Louis Theroux. And she's like, oh, like she's heard of him and not me. And I'm like, yeah, but actually Louis often cites me as an inspiration. And I swear to God, like this is like my last day on earth. I'm about to be killed by the Bilderberg Group.
How embarrassing.
And I'm telling the press officer from the British Embassy in Portugal that Louis actually speaks highly of me. And so then she says this is like the most startling thing that happened that day. She said, well, the good news is if you know you're being followed, they're probably just trying to intimidate you, and the dangerous ones would be those you don't know are following you. And I'm thinking, first, how the fuck does the press officer at the British Embassy know this? And B, what if these people are the dangerous ones? And I just happen to be like naturally good at spotting them. Like I'm an anxious person. I will spot, like I suffer from anxiety. Like I will spot if somebody's following me. Right?
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, so then I go back to my hotel and the woman for the British Embassy phones me back and says that she's spoken to the Bilderberg Group and they've said that nobody is following me.
Of course.
Yeah. So I'm like, he's behind the tree. Like I'm by the pool. I'm going, he's standing behind the tree. And she goes, well, look, just sit tight. I'm sure it's going to go away. So I went down to the beach. Jim Tucker, throughout all of this, by the way, is loving it. He's loving every fucking second of this. It's his dream come true.
Sure, right?
Yeah. I go down to the beach. I'm petrified. I want to like abandon the story, like drive back to England from Portugal because I'm afraid I'm going to get like stopped at immigration.
Yes.
Yeah, you can pretty much. You can get the ferry from Paris. So I'm thinking it's like a 2-day drive, but fuck it.
Right.
So then I had a cameraman with me, David Barker, because I was filming some of this for a documentary. He convinced me to like stick it out. So I went to the beach and then I came back to the hotel. And I swear to God, there's these 2 men in dark glasses sitting in the lobby of the hotel. And as soon as I walk in, they both grab brochures and start reading them. And I'm like, fuck. So I go up to Jim Tucker and I say, there's these 2 men in the lobby. And reading brochures, and they're only pretending to read brochures. And Jim says, how do you know? And I said, you can tell by their demeanour. And then later, when Jim wrote all of this up for his conspiracy website, he like transcribed this conversation. And he said, I said to Ronson, how can you tell? And Ronson replied, you can tell them by their smell. And I'm like, I didn't say smell, I said demeanour. Just remember that.
What does a Bilderberger smell like?
Yeah, like power.
Like power.
So, and their henchmen smell like badly paid power. So, anyway, that was basically it.